history is not a series of dates. It is a weight, a slow-motion collapse of an empire that once thought itself eternal. Tonight, we look into the abyss of 1991, the year the Red Star finally fell from the Kremlin towers. How did a superpower that conquered space and split the atom simply vanish? This is the story of how ideology crumbled, how certainty became doubt, and how 70 years of Soviet power disappeared in a single winter. It began not with a bang, but with empty shelves, broken promises, and the quiet realization that the empire had already died, it just hadn't fallen yet. By the late 70s, the Soviet heart had slowed. The planned economy was a machine grinding itself into dust. While the world raced into the digital age, Soviet citizens stood in line for hours for a simple loaf of bread. The oil prices collapsed. The factories fell silent. The grand 5-year plans became monuments to failure. Workers pretended to work, and the state pretended to pay them. It was a slow starvation of ambition, innovation, and hope. The Soviet dream had become a Soviet nightmare. The Cold War was an expensive shadow. Billions of rubles disappeared into the muzzles of tanks and the hulls of submarines. Reagan's America forced Moscow into a race it could not win. Star Wars, stealth bombers, and trillion-dollar budgets. The Kremlin matched every missile, every warhead, bleeding the treasury dry. They built an arsenal capable of ending the world 10 times over, but they couldn't feed their own people once. In 1979, the Soviet army marched into the graveyard of empires, Afghanistan. It was a wound that would not heal. For 10 years, Soviet boys died in the dust and mountains. Coffins came home sealed, their contents unspeakable. The Mujahideen fought with American stingers and unbreakable will. Afghanistan became the Soviet Union's Vietnam, a war that exposed the myth of invincibility and drained what little remained of the nation's spirit. Mikhail Gorbachev arrived with a smile and a promise. Glasnost, openness. He tried to fix the machine by opening its valves. But perestroika restructuring was surgery without anesthetic. State secrets spilled into the streets. Chernobyl's lies were exposed. The KGB's crimes were printed in Pravda. Gorbachev thought transparency would save the system. Instead, it revealed how rotten the foundations truly were. The people learned the truth, and the truth was unbearable. But when you give a gagged people a voice, they don't always sing the national anthem. They shout for independence. The Baltics demanded freedom. Ukraine stirred. Georgia erupted. From Vilnius to Tbilisi, the Soviet republics were waking from a 70-year sleep. Nationalist movements exploded like fireworks in a powder magazine. The empire that Stalin built with terror, Gorbachev was losing with kindness. The center could not hold. August 1991. Hardliners struck. Tanks rolled toward the White House in Moscow. The world held its breath. Communist Old Guard, terrified of losing their power, declared a state of emergency. Gorbachev was detained. The television showed only ballet and opera. But the people of Moscow were done obeying. They built barricades from park benches and car tires. They stood before the tanks, unarmed, unafraid. Democracy had 3 days to survive or die. Gorbachev was a man caught between two worlds, the communist past he loved and the democratic future he feared. He unleashed forces he could not control. He wanted to reform communism, not destroy it. But history had other plans. When he returned from house arrest after the coup, he found his power evaporated. The Soviet Union no longer answered to him. It no longer answered to anyone. He had become a president without a country. Boris Yeltsin saw the moment. He didn't just stand against the coup, he stood on top of it. On August 19th, he climbed atop a tank and read a declaration to the crowd. "Russia," they shouted. "Russia, not Soviet. Russia." Yeltsin was brash, unpredictable, and hungry for power. But in that moment, he was fearless. The soldiers would not fire. The coup collapsed, and Yeltsin became the man who killed the Soviet Union to birth Russia. For the ordinary citizen, the collapse wasn't a headline. It was the loss of a world, a pension, and a sense of belonging. Babushkas, who fought in the Great Patriotic War, watched their life savings become worthless overnight. Factories closed, leaving millions unemployed. The social safety net vanished. Crime exploded. In the chaos, oligarchs seized state assets for pennies. The dream of communism died, but the dream of capitalism hadn't yet arrived. There was only winter, uncertainty, and grief. December 25th, 1991. While the West celebrated Christmas, the Soviet flag was lowered for the last time. At 7:32 p.m. Moscow time, Gorbachev signed the final decree. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics ceased to exist. No war, no revolution, just a signature and silence. The red banner came down from the Kremlin, replaced by the Russian tricolor. 74 years of history ended not with fire, but with a quiet, cold exhale into the winter night. The Union was gone. It left behind 15 new nations and a legacy of trauma that still shapes our world today. Because in history, nothing truly ends. It only changes shape. The ghost of the empire still haunts the ruins. From the ashes of the Soviet dream came oligarchs and oil wars, democracy and dictatorship, freedom and fear. The collapse was not an ending, it was a beginning. And the world is still living with the consequences. History doesn't close chapters. It just turns the page.